The big day is here, the day that so many Democrats, so many extreme liberals have been waiting for 4+ years. Donald Trump has been arrested. He is, as we go to air right now, at a courtroom in Lower Manhattan where he is being charged. And there's a lot of people that are sadly celebrating this. I would just say that this is a very dark moment in United States history. This is a historic moment, of course, and it's pitiful in that I worry for the country going forward because the political insanity has become so untenable and so challenging that we're going to see more situations like this in the future, making us, as I've told you before, no better than a banana republic. The success of America was always built on its ability to tolerate one another. With what we're seeing today, it's clear that that ability to tolerate is gone, all in the name of winning and effectively killing off your opponent, killing off the competition. And that's something that we should all in some ways mourn. Coming up on today's program, I have Gregg, Jarrett, my former colleague actually over at Fox. He's the author of Russia Hoax and also a new book that's just out, Trial of the Century. He's going to be joining with his legal analysis of all that's been happening. This is the Trish Regan Show. I am Trish. We are brought to you in part by Legacy Precious Metals. Go to legacypminvestments.com if you're interested in investing in gold or silver. Look, gold, my goodness, is way up right now. As I look at the market overall, you've got oil slightly higher, of course, after that OPEC move that surprised a whole lot of people. $80.73 it's currently trading at. That would be WTI, up 0.4%. Gold at $2,037 an ounce, a gain of nearly 2%. Look, and the market's down. There's still a lot of inflation fears, but I think one of the reasons you're seeing gold move higher actually stems from concern that we're kind of messed up right now. I mean, you look at what's happening. A former president indicted, being arrested, possibly a mugshot, although there's speculation that that may not happen. It might help his 2024 campaign too much. Being fingerprinted, the whole 9 yards for what? Political reasons. There are 34 counts there. The indictment is still sealed. Hopefully we get a chance to see that today so we can report more extensively on this. But 34 charges against a former president of the United States of America. That is a big deal. So sure, it may be inflation that's causing some of the gold run up, but I actually think it's real concern, understandably, for our country. Look, this is what China wants. This is exactly what they want. They want us divided. Russia wants us divided. And sure enough, we are. And this will most undoubtedly create more division going forward. I mean, what is to stop any DA anywhere in the country from going after Joe Biden, from going after Hillary Clinton, from going after, hey, Gavin Newsom, that a lot of people don't like out there in California, or anybody that they think might have a chance in the Democrat Party? And what's to stop anyone from going after a whole slew of Republicans? I mean, they've made that very clear. Lines have been drawn now in the sand, and that is not good for society, not good for our country, not good for our national security, and not good for our economy. Anyway, as I said, portions of the program are brought to you by Legacy Precious Metals. You can get more information or your free investing guide at legacypminvestments.com or call 1-866-589-0560. Before I go to my interview with Gregg, Jarrett, who has a lot of thoughts on what's happening right now, unfolding there in Manhattan, Lower Manhattan today, including, by the way, some protesters, not as many, I think, as some people had feared. Clearly, there's very tight security, but there was one protester in particular who was just kind of a nut job and saying some crazy things. These kinds of moments tend to bring out the nut jobs, if you would. Anyway, again, a quick word from a sponsor, Consumer Tax Advocate. If you did the tough thing during COVID, if you paid your people, pulled your business through during that challenging time through the pandemic, well, you could actually qualify for up to $26,000 per employee right now at covidtaxrelief.org. Government funds are available to reward companies with 2 2 or more employees who stayed open during COVID. It's not a loan. You don't have to pay it back. But you do need some help, most likely, because there's a lot of bureaucratic red tape. And the CPAs and tax experts at covidtaxrelief.org know it well. You don't pay anything up front. They do the work. They share a percentage of the cash that they get for you. Now, businesses of all types, including nonprofits, churches, they can all qualify. Even if they took out PPP loans, even if you had an increase in sales, you can still qualify. So if you did stay open and you stood by your employees during COVID, go to covidtaxrelief.org today, covidtaxrelief.org, to see if you can get up to $26,000 per employee. Again, covidtaxrelief.org. As I said, not a good moment right now. This is not a good look for the United States of America. This is what our enemies want. I sure hope we can pull it together, but I'm telling you, I don't have a lot of faith right now. You look at how Americans are reacting. All the poll data shows President Trump is actually benefiting from this. So for Bragg and any Democrat that thought that they were doing a good thing and being the hero, they may have actually, it's a law of unintended consequences that we like to talk about in economics, they may have actually hurt themselves. Undoubtedly, really, because again, looking at the polls, people don't like this when they feel that something is too political. As I said, we haven't seen the indictment, so I would like to see these 34 counts and look at them up close and in detail. And they've tried so many things before, as we know. I think the Russia hoax, if you would, was a great example. I mean, what president has had to suffer this kind of political machinery that's been so directed against him? Maybe you could say Bill Clinton with his intern scandal many years ago, but this is just of a whole other genre now. And I think that other politicians should be worried. Who the heck wants to go into politics, really and truly, if this is what you're faced with? Anyway, for more analysis of all this, I am joined right now by my good friend, Gregg, Jarrett, the author of the brand new book, The Trial of the Century. Very timely. You can pre-order it right now on Amazon or on barnesandnoble.com. Gregg, my good friend, we were colleagues for many years at Fox. It's good to see you.
Hey, it's great to be with you, Trish.
So, wow, this is a big day. It's a historic day. I want to get your sense of things from a legal perspective. We've analyzed it from a political perspective, but with your legal training, what do you think of what's going on right now?
Oh, I think it's politically motivated, and most Americans do. There's a reason why Donald Trump's poll numbers have shot up and his campaign coffers have been filled with millions of dollars over the last several days. That's because, most Americans are smart. They're not easily fooled. And they see this for what it is. This is a feeble zombie case, as they used to call it in the DA's office, that was resurrected from the dead and is transparently politically motivated. A whopping 76% of Americans in the recent poll that just came out yesterday by CNN say this is politically motivated, and they're right. I think a lot of people look at this and they say this is persecution under the guise of a prosecution. You've got to be kidding me. An affair that allegedly happened 17 years ago is now being criminalized.
But it's the money. So this is what, I hear you, and I want to get into that, because what's so peculiar to me is you had allegedly this indiscretion, if he had it or not, whatever. As I understand it, he didn't want these allegations coming forward because it would be painful for his family, and he used personal funds to make this go away, so to speak. Isn't that allowed? I guess they're trying to contend that it's somehow campaign finance money. I'm not sure how the DA gets there unless he's got some other charge up his sleeve.
Well, it's a novel, if not bizarre, legal theory that has never been used, not once, by the district attorney's office. Again, we haven't seen the unsealed indictment. We'll have to wait and see. But based on the leaks from the district attorney's office, it seems to be predicated on a misdemeanor under New York law of falsifying business records. And then supercharging it into a felony by alleging that the falsification was done to cover up another crime, which is that this should have been counted as a campaign contribution in the 2016 election. That's utter nonsense. It does not qualify as a campaign finance donation. Don't take my word for it. Read the excellent editorial in the Wall Street Journal by Bradley A. Smith, former chairman of the Federal Election Commission, who laughed at this thing and said, "You got to be kidding me. This is not objectively, and that's the standard under the law, a campaign contribution."
So why do this? I mean, Bragg himself was quoted in a book that had come out saying that, he thought this really didn't have much in the way of legs to stand on. He was hesitant to do it in the first place. Why do it?
Well, because, I think he's politically ambitious. He sees himself as the hero that brings down Donald Trump, the boogeyman of the Democratic Party.
But it's helping Donald Trump. That's the irony.
He's not, Bragg is not particularly a bright guy. He has an abysmal record as a prosecutor. And the great irony, of course, is that he has downgraded felonies to petty misdemeanors in more than 50% of his cases, which is shocking. And now he wants to elevate a misdemeanor into a felony because the guy's name is Donald Trump. No reasonable person believes that anyone not named Trump would ever face such a convoluted, absurd, ludicrous legal theory as this one. I think the defense has a very good chance of getting this knocked out on a motion to dismiss, if for no other reason than the statute of limitations expired years ago, which only underscores how people are saying, wait a minute, this happened so long ago. Back in 2016, 7 years ago. And isn't this really just sort of a private matter? And Trump's defense is, I did this for personal and commercial reasons. Of course, any married man would do this. A married woman might do it. And his eponymous business empire, he's got to protect the name and reputation of it. So the law says, unless it is solely, exclusively done to benefit a campaign, it doesn't count. And here there are a myriad of reasons other than his campaign.
So does this make us, in your view, a little like Brazil or Venezuela or Argentina? I mean, I keep looking at it and, I've done a lot of reporting on these banana republics in Latin America and South America. And I'm like, gosh, it's feeling eerily similar. This is kind of messed up.
Yeah, it is. The common refrain is we're looking like a banana republic. Well, we are. Actually, we're looking worse than a banana republic. That's what they do when they don't win elections. Then they, try to reverse the election result by criminally charging and arresting people in public office.
Or everybody that has had public office winds up in jail somehow. I mean, I think about Lula down in Brazil. Well, now he's president again. Go figure. I mean, this is just, I've always thought to myself and prided myself on America being different. And I'm kind of wondering if it's run its course, because I suspect that the genie's being let out of the bottle here, Gregg. I mean, this might be just the first of many, many politicians to face similar charges. You could have DAs all over the country saying, I'm going to go get him. I'm going to go get her.
Yeah, you could have conservative Republican district attorneys in various jurisdictions who are going to start charging, the Biden crime family and Hunter Biden.
I'd be worried if I were Biden. Seriously.
District attorneys who will take a look, for example, in Arkansas and elsewhere at, the Clinton Foundation and how, as I wrote in my first book, The Russia Hoax, Hillary and Bill Clinton used the tens of millions of dollars flowing in from Russia into their foundation. They used it as their personal piggy bank. Bragg has opened Pandora's box here. And you could see this really come back to haunt Democrats. And I hate to see this happen. Local DA in New York is essentially interfering in the next national election by doing this.
If he's successful, I mean, I don't know how again, we have not seen the indictment. It's sealed at present. But if he were successful in some way, shape, or form, it still wouldn't affect the former president's ability to run again, would it?
No, it wouldn't. The Constitution has 3 limitations slash conditions. You got to be 35 years of age, a natural born citizen, and have lived at least 14 years in the United States. Other than that, there's no other bar to holding the highest office in the land. So, it will have to wait and see how this thing shakes out. I'm very interested in reading, the indictment reportedly. It has 34 counts. I suspect, I can't say for sure, but I suspect that they're taking the individual reimbursements to Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen, and counting them separately as independent crimes. And as my friend Jonathan Turley, a law professor at GW University, said, chopping it up and making it 34 separate crimes, it doesn't make it 34 times stronger. You don't improve the quality of a case by simply increasing the quantity of the charges. Mm-hmm. And he's absolutely right about this. But it would underscore, sort of an act of desperation on Alvin Bragg.
The judge in this case is not someone who the former president likes very much. He claims that the judge doesn't like him very much. He was very clear on Truth Social saying he hates me. How is it that the same judge keeps getting these cases? I believe he's got one with Steve Bannon. He had the one with Michael Cohen. I mean, they just keep going back to the same exact guy?
Yeah, it's called judge shopping. And, only in New York is that sort of thing allowed. And it's fundamentally wrong. It's a violation of due process. That an accused will be treated fairly and equitably. But if you go shopping for a particular biased judge, you're undermining those due process rights. And
it seems like it should be kind of a lottery, right? Like in any judge,
yeah.
I mean, the idea that this particular judge has every case.
It's called a wheel, it rotates. And, that's how it is in most places. So, this was a district attorney who specifically went to this particular judge because of the way he handled the previous business case involving the Trump organization. And he handpicked Juan Marchand, the judge, to preside over the grand jury. And by doing that, he then was able to sort of shoehorn him into presiding over the case in earnest after an indictment was handed up by the grand jury. I think this is susceptible to a legal challenge by Trump's defense team. I think they're also considering a change of venue because, Alvin Bragg, is not only picking a biased judge, but he's picking a venue in which, the jurors are stacked against the accused. And I think you can make a pretty good argument for a change of venue.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a very different feeling that you get in Florida. I was recently in Palm Beach, and it's a whole different sentiment down there versus, say, New York City. I think we all know that, and you can look at the voting records to see it. One other question for you, because there's been talk that the former president, President Trump, might be muzzled effectively, not allowed to speak about this. He's planned to speak tonight, 8:00 in Palm Beach. Regardless, can they do that? Can they say, okay, you're not allowed to talk about this? I mean, is that a First Amendment violation in some way, shape, or form? What's your take?
It's an egregious violation of the First Amendment for a judge ever to gag a defendant who's been accused of crimes. People have a First Amendment right to profess their innocence, to argue their case in the court of public opinion. Because
a lot of lawyers might say, hey, don't do that, right? Because you might get in trouble. You might be advised not to. But the idea that the judge is somehow muzzling you, that takes it a step further.
Here's the problem. Whenever judges issue a gag order on the defendant, it's unconstitutional. The trouble is that most defendants don't have the financial wherewithal to challenge it. And if they do, the trial's over by the time the gag order is litigated. So this is, what unscrupulous, unprincipled judges have done in the past. And as I say, it's fundamentally wrong. But Trump might be the kind of person who could actually challenge it and do so expeditiously and get the judge overturned, because it is blatantly unconstitutional under the First Amendment.
The Trial of the Century, it comes out next month. You can pre-order it right now on Amazon or on Barnes & Noble. Give us your sort of overall synopsis, if you would, Gregg.
Yeah, this is the greatest trial ever in American history, and it established the fundamental bedrock principles of free speech and academic autonomy, the indispensable proposition that nobody should be told how to think. The greatest trial lawyer who ever lived, Clarence Darrow, defended a school teacher who was arrested and prosecuted for teaching the science of evolution, which 100 years ago was prohibited in a lot of states. It was banned. It was criminalized. Darrow took on the defense and utterly destroyed on cross-examination the great fundamentalist leader William Jennings Bryan in what the New York Times described as the most amazing court scene in Anglo-Saxon history. It's an incredible read. I got my hands on the original trial transcript buried in the courthouse archives. It's a stunning story, and I think most Americans should read it. I invite them to buy the book and read it.
Well, listen, the First Amendment, our First Amendment rights are just more important than ever. But I think what your book does is it helps explain that this is something that we've had to fight for really for a long time. But it's critical that we continue fighting for that, Gregg, because that's part of the foundation, if you would, of this great country.
You're absolutely right. And thanks for mentioning it, Trish.
Gregg, Jarrett, thank you so much. Again, Trial of the Century, pre-order it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, Trish. Take care.
Thank you. Again, my thanks to Gregg. As I said, a developing story here, and we're going to continue watching for it. We'll have more details as soon as we get our hands on this actual indictment and we can look at these 34 counts. We will bring that to you. So stay tuned for more programming. Make sure, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel or to the Rumble channel or to Apple Podcasts, the Trish Regan Show on Apple Podcasts, do me that favor. Make sure that you subscribe right now. It's really important so we can get the word out. We can get the truth out. We can talk about all of this in a really civilized way. Do me the favor of liking, of sharing this video or this podcast. It is really important. I'm here every single day for you for free. I mean, you got to listen to some ads here and there, but I'm here for free. I think it's really important that we have this connection. I'll tell you, this is one ad that I love delivering every single day. And I hope you like seeing if you're watching on Rumble or on YouTube. And that is about my dog, Fluffy. Because Fluffy's the bomb, right? As we say. He's just a really wonderful dog, and I love him very much. And I want to make sure that he's got all the nutrients and all the things that he needs for a long, healthy, happy life. He is an energetic dog. I want to keep that energy forever. He did suffer from some allergies, so I was looking for how I could affect his diet and change his diet and make shifts to help him with those allergies. And a few things were involved. We cut out chicken. We also brought in Rough Greens. Rough Greens is a wonderful supplement created by Dr. Dennis Black. It ensures that your dog gets all the nutrients they need. He eats a very healthy meal. And on top of that, I just sprinkle some more healthy stuff with the Rough Greens every night at his dinner. He was never much of an eater. He didn't love to eat, but now suddenly with that Rough Greens on there, it is like the special sauce and he loves it. So I appreciate this product for that reason. And I appreciate what Dr. Black has done and is doing to make sure that other dogs are healthy. You can get a free jumpstart trial of Rough Greens by just going to roughgreens.com/Trish, my name. Again, roughgreens.com/Trish. Get your free jumpstart trial today. Give it a shot with your dog. Look, our dogs love us so much. It's nice to be able to do whatever we can on the margin to help them be here for as long as possible. So check it out, roughgreens.com/Trish. Again, as I said, a very important story. This is what we are focused on today. In the meantime, you got other stuff going on. Of course, we covered yesterday the challenge of what's happening with China, the Chinese spy balloon that they tried to say, oh, no, nothing here to say this is just a weather balloon. That was China's version of things. Then, of course, the president was like, oh, yeah, it's a violation, but really, they didn't get any intel. Well, it now turns out, according to NBC News reporting, that indeed they were able to spy on some key U.S. military sites. This is a problem. They did figure eights above some of these key military sites. I mean, look, China is getting ready for something. I just would hope and pray that we are similar in that, again, I don't want to get into anything. None of us should ever want to get into anything. But that whole philosophy of walk softly but carry a big stick, that is pretty important right now. You want to make sure you have the right preparation so that you're not actually getting engaged with China over something like Taiwan, which, by the way, is in some ways quite real. I mean, they said they'd take over Hong Kong. They did. Russia said that they wanted to take over Ukraine. That's what they're trying to do. We need to recognize these threats and face them head on. And there needs to be some kind of pushback, right? They need to actually fear the United States of America, which means where are the sanctions? We need way more in the way of sanctions against China in light of what we've learned about this spy balloon. And it's not happening, and I'm not sure why, but it's all pretty important stuff. And I encourage you, again, to make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you are here every day because it's a very rapid news environment. We're going to continue covering it here for you on the Trish Regan Show. Great to see you, everyone, and we'll talk some more soon.